Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to the grand finals of the PiG Sty Festival. What I've got for you today is a best-of-9 series for the lion's share of $10,000. This is going to be, from what I've heard, an amazing match of StarCraft because we have the very best players in the game facing off against each other. Now spotting right here in the top right-hand corner, we have the man who's considered to be the greatest StarCraft 2 player of all time. We're looking at none other than Serral's main hatchery. His opponent down in the bottom left, playing with the blue Terran SCVs, we have Clem, the current world champion of StarCraft 2, and of course, the man who also faced off against Serral in the grand finals of the World Cup. Well, at this point, maybe like, what, 9-10 months ago or so? It's been a little while. Actually, no, it's been less than that. Anyways, long story short, that particular finals is now quite infamous, because at the time, Clem, well, he managed to win over Serral 5-0, which is absolutely unheard of. So I'm sure that is going to be in the back of Serral's mind here as well. They have been here before. At the time, it was for the lion's share of $1 million. So, yeah, he's probably, still a bit upset over that. Although even second place was still a, a good amount of change. But there's no denying here that this is a series between two absolute monsters. Now, sadly for me, a couple things. I already know who ends up winning this. I haven't seen the games yet, but because I'm very active in the StarCraft world, I have gotten spoiled about 17 times over this particular series. So first off, I hope you haven't. But secondly, I heard that the games are ridiculously close, and I haven't seen any of the matches yet. So I'm excited for this. Oh, this is... yeah, when it comes to StarCraft, like, I mean, Zerg versus Terran is the most popular matchup across the board. Every single time I do a poll or I just check out, like, the viewer analytics, for example, Zerg versus Terran is always the most popular matchup. And when it comes to top-level StarCraft, it really doesn't get any better than these two. I mean, Clem, certainly the #1 Terran in the world. Serral, certainly the #1 Zerg. Not really a whole lot of debate as far as that goes at this point in time. So, let's find out together exactly what ended up going down. We're going to start with some Reaper harassment. I'm not expecting here that we're going to see any real kills. These games, by the way, are played online. Historically, the reason I bring it up, historically, Clem has always been a little bit weaker at offline tournaments than he is online. Whereas Serral seems to, well, be more powerful whenever he gets to play in front of a crowd, or at the very least when he's away from home. Mentally, I think Serral is an absolute monster, but you gotta keep in mind that Clem has now got a ton of experience. And, I mean, when he first started competing, and I feel like this is easily forgotten, when Clem first started competing at the absolute highest level, and he had to show at, offline tournaments what he was capable of, he was also very young. Like, both of these players, I think Serral's like 26, Clem is like maybe 22-ish? I'm not exactly sure about the age, but something along those lines. Clem has been competing at the absolute highest level for many years, and, well, I think that finals at the EWC, the 5-0, right, that he got over Serral, I think that certainly proved that Clem is a monster as well when it comes to playing offline events these days. So in my mind, this is really extremely close. I favor Serral in basically any series, ever so slightly. But other than that, it's maybe like a, it's as close as it's ever going to be, really. It's probably like a 53 percent going up against like a 47%, something along those lines. Anyway, so far, I'm not really expecting a whole lot of spiciness, by the way, as far as the strategies go. So far, I'm not really seeing anything out of the ordinary. It's a triple command center into a 1-1-1 right here for Clem. Triple hatchery opener as well for Serral. And he is likely going to be playing, I guess, Ling Bane into Hydra. Something along those lines will more than likely be the play. Usually if he goes for a Roach Warren, he already has planted it down. Either way, when it comes to standard StarCraft... Ooh, so we do have an attempted little run-by here. Really, are we going to do it? A little dangerous. Yeah. Okay, he gets a couple drones for his troubles. But that was not worth it. Oh. That Zergling disengage was almost disrespectful there. So I was like, nah, I trust in the Queen. You always trust in the Queen, huh? Alright. Beautiful cleanup. A little bit late maybe on the drone pool, but I mean, obviously this is still a very, very nice trade for the Zerg to begin a series. Especially when this now means that Terran is going to be on the back foot as far as early game harassment goes. Can't really do as much with 2 Hellions as you can obviously with like 7 or 8. Alright, Now, as far as strategies go throughout this series, I'm not expecting any craziness. We have been seeing Serral mix in a lot more aggression, specifically against Protoss. It seems to me, I mean, I haven't heard him really talk about this, but it seems to me that he's not really loving playing against Protoss as much as he's loving, well, playing against Protoss historically. In ZVT, though, the matchup in my mind is pretty even. Like, balance-wise, I don't think there's really a whole lot of complaining you can do. The nerf to, well, for example, the Queen is quite significant, but the Queen, or the the Ghost nerf as well in the late game is also incredibly impactful. We do have a Zergling run by now on the other side of the map, and this is actually big. A bunch of Marines are also going to die because of all of this. So maybe we'll see some aggression here from Serral. But other than that, I'm not really expecting anything too odd. I would be surprised if we're going to see Clem play Mass Command Center every game, so maybe a couple of 8-Rex all-ins. That would be cool. Serral, by the way, is going into a Roach Warren now. This seems like an extremely late Roach Warren to me, but apparently he's liking it with the 1-1. A little bit odd, honestly, to go +1 melee first, and then still add on a Roach Warren. Normally, this would be a Baneling Nest. Maybe he's a bit afraid of, like, a full-on all-in, maybe, from the Terran. Roaches are really good at defending all-ins. Baneling's a little bit more flimsy, but yeah, we're going melee upgrades and then also Roaches at the same time. Roaches, of course, benefit from Missile rather than melee. So we do have an Infestation Pit and a Baneling Nest also coming up. So Serral getting a little bit of everything. This means that he's not going to be able to be aggressive for the next couple minutes. But Serral is already investing into a mid to late game timing attack. Second factory you're finishing up right now for Clem. Ah, here we go. I was wondering where the first factory had gone off to, but apparently we will indeed go into the, I'm assuming at the very least, the Widowmine upgrades. Obviously, though, against a Roach-based army, you don't really want to have Widowmines. You would much rather have something like, for example, Siege Tanks, although Widowmines are still decent. There's the Hive coming up. I think the Roaches will more or less just be a stepping stone. I think he's just going to make a bunch of Roaches just to not die. Zerglings for the run-bys. Banelings, of course, as well. 3 Ravagers now coming up. Good defense there, though, by Clem, preventing the Zerglings from running into his natural a second time around. Yeah, and I think maybe because of that Ling run-by being successful earlier on, I mean, it wasn't the end of the world by any stretch. It was only 6 SCVs in the end, but maybe because of that, Serral's thinking, yo, I'm gonna add on a Roach Warren here and just play it very, very safe. I love it whenever Terrans keep the Banshees around. I think keeping the Banshees alive is absolutely critical, because it allows you to do things like this. I mean, doesn't look like a whole lot, but any attack here from especially a Roach-based army, it is likely that the Banshees are going to kill at least like 2, 3, 4 Roaches or so. Sometimes even the Ravagers go down. Very beneficial. It's quite common too, though, for Terran players to just sort of throw away their Banshee. So far, great movement here by Clem. Baneling speed, about halfway done. Hive already finishing. 8 minutes into the game. Okay, so we're gonna go into Adrenal Glands and then also a Viper. A lot of Zerg players as of late have been very fond of Ultras. I'm not sure exactly if Serral is fond of Ultras, because it doesn't seem like it's that great of a choice here. But you need to make something late game, right? And at this point, he doesn't have a potential for Lurkers. Clem, though, boosts by here with the Medivacs, or at least pretends like he's boosting by. Gets a bunch of the Banelings that are still morphing in. Centrifugal Hooks finishes up, and he gets a cancel as well on a hatch. Lovely little attack here by the French Terran player. Getting a good bit of value, too, actually. Really nice. Keep in mind, of course, the Terran is not committed to, well, an all-in here by any stretch, right? He is making barracks 6, 7, and 8 right now. So this is actually what I was trying to bring up earlier, but this is off of 4 command centers. So rather than an 8-Rex all-in, this is going to be a macro-focused 8-Rex. But certainly not a transition into anything else here for quite a long time. Well, there it is. Ultra Cavern coming up. Gets another cancel. Lovely play here by Clem. Really good movement. There's also, in the meantime, a Zergling run by on the other side of the map. Banelings at the very least being annoying too. Drop up north does get cleaned up, but only 2 SCVs go down to that Zerg attack. Clem is on top of everything. Should we do a little bit of first-person view? This is what Clem is looking at whilst playing the game. Rebuilding the wall off over at the 3rd base. Busy microing everything. separate control group right here, it looks like, for the Banshees specifically. We could use some help here. Sorry, Jimmy. We're kind of busy right now. All right, let me take control of the camera again, because it gets a little bit crazy. Lovely multitasking, though. Both players playing extremely quick. Good corrosive biles here, though. Siege tanks end up going down, and those roaches and ravagers from earlier really coming in clutch. So now the roaches are being replaced with ultras. Chitinous plating is coming, but it's still not gonna be done by the time that these ultralisks will spawn. The fact that there's no more creep in this section of the map is what Clem is trying to exploit right now. He doesn't really want to go home because he knows that as soon as he does, Zerg is going to be re-creeping everything here, and it'll be continuously difficult to get damage done. Trying to bait these armies right now into the siege tanks. I love the spreadies here on the siege tanks, by the way. This one is likely going to, yep, indeed, get sniped. Serral trying to buy time until ultras have their armor upgrades. At this point, Clem does not have a proper answer to ultralisks yet, although Marine Marauder is by no means bad. It's just that he doesn't have Liberators yet, and he doesn't yet have any sort of ghost production. In the meantime, Baneling roll by once more. Ultralisk now also joining in the fray. Lovely split there, actually, by Clem. In the meantime, though, his army over here is getting overwhelmed. Ultras don't get half their armor, but apparently they don't need it. Numbers here heavily in favor of Serral. And even though that attack looked really good for Clem, ultimately the price does get paid. A lot of SCVs going down too. Leftover roaches just targeting whatever they can. Tried to get one more SCV on his way out. Did not quite happen. Depot is going to get a full repair rather than burning it down. That's kind of clutch, actually. That's the first time I've ever seen that. Saving a 0 HP, pretty much 0 HP supply depot by dropping a little supply depot hat on top of it, despite the fact that Clem wasn't supply blocked. Curious way to save it. Okay. Now, in a lot of games that these two play, right? So say Serral plays against Terran, Clem plays against Zerg. They will be able to overwhelm the opponent with sheer multitasking. Both of these guys are extremely quick. As you can see right here in the APM tab, 480 average actions per minute. There's obviously going to be a bunch of spam, especially for Zerg. There will be some rapid firing and all that too, but it's fast. It's extremely quick. Not gonna be so lucky though when your opponent has the same level of speed. Ultras leading the charge here. Baneling's trying to see if they can get a lucky hit. Marauders get move commanded forward for just a little bit, and that is indeed too much. Serral hits it out of the park in game number 1 as he obtains the victory. Next up, we find ourselves on Talisman. This is the map, of course, with that weird little pathway that only workers can access. Serral actually has already taken his base over here on the other side of the map. Now mining out these skinny mineral fields. Really focusing on the one over here on the right, just to create an entrance into this base as well, because currently it is blocked off by a bunch of rocks. Good movement here, though, by the French Terran player, trying to deny that mining, although we're one trip away. And indeed, there we go. Now suddenly this base will be accessible, and of course half of the mineral fields here are golden. Well, not quite half, but there is quite a bit of additional income here that you can get as a Zerg player. It's a double barracks opener for Clem, so he is massing up those Reapers for now. Generally, you build up to 5. Let's see, though. This is not really a very common build anymore these days. So, yeah. Add-on coming up. This is losing a bit of popularity over the last year, but I mean, when you expand this aggressively in the direction of the Terran player, those Reapers can get across the map really quickly. Good movement here. Keep in mind, of course, that the Reapers do have that passive that allows them to heal very, very quickly outside of combat. Reapers are gonna get countered, though, by Roaches, assuming Serral can get it done. What's a little bit odd about this is that Serral has gone for a lair before Zergling speed. So he has got something up his sleeve here. Would get scouted by Clem. This is going to be a 2-base play here from the finisher. Great movement here with the Queens, though. Completely blindsiding the Terran about this. Okay, Queen backs up. Still, though, those grenades are wonderfully positioned, dealing so much damage with this Terran army. Shuffles the weakened Reapers towards the back. Factory now coming up. Clem did go for a very quick 3rd command center, by the way. Extremely fast 3rd CC. So Serral will have to try and stop this before it lays eggs. Clem really needs to see the lair. Oh, he still does not see it. Okay, he's hunting down the queen now, and here he sees that something is a little bit fishy. That lair is not supposed to be done yet, as he also kills a bunch of queens. Phenomenal micro here, though, coming out of Clem. He has still not lost a unit. I mean, now he's certainly going to lose something. But he also scouts exactly what he needs to know. 5 Reapers go down for a queen, 4 Zerglings and a drone. And all of the scouting information. And I think that last point may be the most important. With this many command centers, so this was a 3rd CC before a factory, Clem is going to be able to lose about all of his SCVs and still be okay. So whatever Serral has in mind, I mean, you can't literally lose every single SCV, but you can lose at least 20. And the mules will make up the difference. Serral now making a lot of roaches as he's waiting for that roach speed upgrade to finish up. He does build a 3rd hatchery though on the back of this. Double evolution chamber 2 as a potential transition. Yeah, I don't think you can really go for the attack. The problem here for Serral, right, is that as he is finishing up Glial Reconstitution, with an opener like this, Terran will usually finish up the Stimpeg research about 5 minutes into the game. And this is something that Serral will be well aware of. Can you really attack Terran as they've just hit a power spike? I don't think so. So, what was meant to be an aggressive push is now being, well, turned into a bit of an awkward macro build, where he opened up with a very quick lair on 2 bases, took a bit of damage. Now we're going into Burrow, Tunneling Claws, +1/+1. All right, Serral's cooking up something. He's also faking a big attack. It's only a handful of roaches at this point in time. One of them, though, has been split off from the rest of the pack. Interestingly enough, this is dealing a lot of damage. Yeah, this is like a bluff within a bluff within a bluff. Terran here assuming that this attack would never come, and now suddenly it's actually dealing a lot of damage. 9 SCVs? I don't even think Serral was assuming he was ever going to get that much. These rocks are still up, though, so that means that this roach over here is only going to be able to deal so much damage. The skinny mineral fields are slowly being mined away. Siege tank goes up onto the high ground. Does he get it? Oh, he gets it. Beautiful deny. And now suddenly Tunneling Claws and Burrow is really scary. So these 2 upgrades combined allow the roaches to move around underground. They also regen really quickly underground. Keep in mind that these Marines are stimming without a combat shields and only a handful of medevacs. So everything gets very pricey. The roaches also do get a skin that changes a little bit. So the units do, yeah, visually look different. I don't know why, but it is going to give the Terran player the heads up that Tunneling Claws, there it is indeed available. Marines going around the site. They have been spotted by the finisher. Da-na-na-na-na-na. He wants the siege tank, doesn't he? Yeah. Oh no, he's actually going to go and split the units up like they're Dark Templar, dude. Sending the Dark Templar roaches all around. He is going to hug the siege tank here in the end. Siege tanks, of course, have a minimum range. I think we're going to unburrow all at the same time. Clem. As soon as he saw the roaches, he knew it wasn't going to happen. GG. I don't even remember the last time I've seen tunneled clawed roaches win against a highly ranked Terran player. It's such an uncommon tool. For Serral to... I don't think it really was an intentional timing attack, or... I'm trying to figure out if that was a strategy that Serral intended to do the entire time, or if he deviated from plan when he saw that it was a double Rex opener. I think the original... Oh, okay, nice snipe over there by the Reaper. Good start here for Clem. I think the original plan from Serral was to do a 2-base roach speed timing attack, but then when he saw that the Terran player was going quick Stimpeg, which they always do off of a, well, 3 to 5 Reaper opener, or I guess technically 2 to 5. You see 2 Reapers every once in a while. Good grenade. I think he deviated from plan at that point. And I'm not sure if that was a freestyle from Serral, but it looked powerful. That was pretty sick. Now, by the way, if you're enjoying this series so far, please take a second. Hit the like button down below. It really does help. If you really enjoy the videos, consider subscribing. Check out my Patreon, my second YouTube check out my SoundCloud. Okay, I don't have a SoundCloud, but I do have a second YouTube channel and a Patreon. Anyways, check Triple CC opener here from Clem is once more going to be the weapon of choice. And I think Clem really needs to, yeah, tighten things up a little bit. I mean, he's not playing poorly. I think in the previous game, to be fair, he just sort of got... So, the tricky part is, in game number 1, he got outplayed ever so slightly, which is rough, right? You don't ever want to get outplayed. As a pro gamer, that's just a big no-no. In game number 2, he got out-strategized. So it's not really the way you want to start off a series, right? It's not like he made one big blunder and that was it, or that the opponent just went for something, haha, got you now type of strategy. I mean, you could argue that maybe Tunnel Claw Roaches are exactly that, but it's very transitionable for Zerg. A relatively small investment to get the Tunneling Claws when you already have the Roach speed, and Burrow is something that will carry... yeah, that carries on being useful as long as the game progresses, right? So I think it's okay for Serral to transition from there. So, yeah, game number 1, straight up macro. Game number 2, well, straight up strategy. And once more, we go into a Roach Warren. So we go Roaches 3 games in a row here. Very curious. What else is quite curious, though, is the timing of the armory, and I've got a feeling that Clem is not going to be happy about the Roach Warren again. The only reason to go for an armory at this point in time is if you want to go for a Hellbat push. So this is a triple command center Hellbat push. Generally quite scary for Zergs to deal with, as long as they are full Ling Bane focused. In this instance, Serral will certainly have a couple Roaches. Yep, Roach Warren finishes, he immediately makes 5. And they're gonna be out. They're gonna be out. Queens alone are generally already quite good at defending these type of attacks. Queens and Roaches, though, are going to be phenomenal. But let's see, maybe the Marines can put in some work. Overlord sees it coming in from a mile away. Serral evacuates the base, it looks like, or at the very least he pulled the drones. 1 Roach available. Every stim right now counts. Run the drones! Oh no! Serral, run. Okay. I think that was actually on purpose. Yeah. Serral's like, yo, attack me, bro. I promise you, I taste real good when you shoot your guns at me. And then, well, I guess he would have been able to close the distance real quick with the rest of his army units. Ultimately, a single drone has died, but that was to the Reaper. We're gonna settle for some Overlord harassment. Okay, 2 Ovies. Not bad. Combat shields coming up right now for Clem. And barracks 4 and 5 also are now building. All right, so that attack falling flat on its face, not really achieving a whole lot, but you also didn't really lose anything. You got to take into consideration the cost of the armory. So generally you don't go into the armory until the 1-1 research is done. But they did make the structure a little bit cheaper a few patches ago. So this is not that big of a commitment anymore for Terran players. Okay. The Roaches are going to commit to a timing attack, or at least a counter-attack for now. A lot of Roaches actually on the back of this from Serral. Serral actually very committed now. Only on 55 drones. He doesn't have high ground vision here, so that siege tank could hurt. Okay, he sees it now. Cannot really land the corrosive biles. And this is a very interesting little attack here by Serral. I mean, it's working out brilliantly, though. Huh. He's still committing, though. He's still just doubling down on the Roaches, keeping the Ravagers alive. Couple biles here to try and just slow down the chase here. Drones coming up on the back of this, and very interesting attack by Serral. Once more, out-strategizing Clem a little bit. Now, I do think he overmade Roaches, though, because I don't think he's going to be able to break the natural open. Maybe he can just sort of soft-contain the Terran on 2 bases. Apparently, we're going to fight. Okay, corrosive biles will, of course, connect with the siege tank. That tank is no longer around. Clem backs up to the safety of the second tank, though. That's one on the high ground, and it's putting in a lot of supplemental damage. But while this is all going on, Serral is fully mining 3 bases. Clem does have workers for 3 bases. But he can't possibly be sending the SCVs right now down to that mineral line. I think he should back up. I think he's overextending. Okay, Serral just trying to trade. But those tanks put in a lot of work. 8 kills on that siege tank, 2 on this one. Obviously, they deal splash damage, though, so they do get quite a bit of damage in. Okay. 2-2 coming up here for Clem. Obviously, the armory was already here. Did we see a second armory? No. Sometimes you see Terrans autopiloting autopiloting rather into a second armory there. Not the case. Good hold though by Clem. A very important hold as well. Infestation Pit now coming up for Serral, and the same can be said for the Evo Chamber upgrades. So even though that attack across the board was quite successful, I don't think it really has dealt enough damage to justify all of this. Clem finding himself in a really comfortable position now. Gonna be able to start doing all that multi-pronged harassment that he's so very well known for, and he's super comfortable now. He knows there's not gonna be bailing roll-bys anytime soon. He doesn't have to worry about ultras. He doesn't have to worry about much of anything. Second factory coming up right now at the front. Medevac gone around. Okay. Bailing Nest is coming, but all of this is, of course, way later. Remember, in game number 1, Serral finished up the hive at 8 minutes. Now it starts at nearly 10. Maybe more like 9.5. Either way, this means that momentum is heavily in favor of Clem, and this is exactly what he likes to do, right? So Clem actually now has transitioned towards a interesting. So he's got a 8 barracks on 3 command centers now. So he's turning this into almost of an all-in. I mean, it is certainly transitionable, but he is meaning to deal a lot of damage. He did not build a 4th command center, and it makes this a very committed attack here by the Frenchman. Zerglings once more, hoping to maybe get a little bit of a... I mean, so many Marines. A little bit of counterattack damage. It's much easier for Terran, though, to look away right now as well from this fight. You know there's only slow banelings. Easy to snipe them down. Corrosive balls are still terrifying, I suppose, but reinforcing Terran units have now dealt with that Ling run-by, and the Marines, they are starting to plow through all of this. Serral cannot hold it. Brilliant strategic decision there by Clem. He gets a point on the board. Next up, we find ourselves on Starchild. Lovely game there from Clem. Maybe not quite the dominance that he was hoping for, but hey, a win is a win. And honestly, he defended that very, very nicely. Bit of an odd play as well from Serral, though, to commit that heavily into roaches without upgrades. I mean, I guess they had the roach speed research, but that was about it. Okay. So far, though, it's obvious that these two are very evenly matched. Serral has been enjoying those games on Talisman quite a bit. Every game that I've seen Serral play on Talisman so far has had some sort of weird, like, decision-making in it. So that was the second game of the series, the one with the little ramp that wiggles down to the low ground that only workers can access. The weird 2-base roach play into tunnel-clawed roaches. It's interesting how Serral, of all people, is enjoying that map. In my mind, well, I guess he's been practicing it a lot, but in my mind, that should not really be a map that favors his playstyle, but I guess we've seen him switch between different playstyles over the years quite frequently. Forced to adjust on the fly. Now, this is going to be a triple hatch opener once more, and guess what? Triple command center on the other side of the map. I do find it interesting, by the way, how a lot of the top tier Terrans lately have just become entirely allergic to making ghosts. I just keep thinking about the first game and the Ultras winning the match. I mean, yeah, they won the game, but also it's because Terrans just don't seem to make any units anymore that are really good against Ultras. Like, I'm not convinced that it's because the Ultra is strong. But we see so many Terran players having a lot of money to, I don't know, make a second starport and begin Liberator production, or go into a Ghost Academy and begin the Ghost production, but they just kind of double down on Marine Marauder Medevac, and if it doesn't work, then YOLO. It's questionable to me, so I'm hoping that maybe if this game goes in a similar direction too, and so far all of the stars seem to point in that direction, because everything here is very normal, although it's early to say. I'm hoping we're gonna see something a little bit more well, what used to be the standard for a long time. So the change they made to the Ghost, by the way, and why we don't really see it very often anymore. I don't want to call it rarely, but we don't really see the Ghost very often anymore in this matchup, is that there are now 3 supply each rather than 2. That's the difference. It's really not that big of a deal. I mean, it is, but also, I think it's recoverable. Anyway, Benchy Cloaking coming up here for Clement. Actually, Clement Desplange. I don't know how to speak French. I had French in school for a long time. Do you think I remember a whole lot of it? Mais non! Certainly not. No. Benchy, coming in. Trying to get a little bit of damage done. He's really zeroed in on killing this hatchery. I find it overly ambitious. Plenty of queens available. Spire coming up for Serral. Double bailing. Okay, cancels the second bailing nest. Spire coming up for Serral. I don't know how I feel about Mutas. Mutas, in my mind, feel very similar to Ultras. Honestly, every Zerg unit that isn't the gold standard, like Lingbane, Hydra, Lurker, Viper, right? Like, anything that is not entirely normal, I feel pretty conflicted about. This is going to be a Muta play, though, from Serral. He's already saving up gas. He's already delayed his Evo chambers. Bailing speed now is, well, pretty late, all things considered. Funnily enough, if Clem decided to go for something more aggressive on this map, he could actually get a whole lot of value out of it. No Hellbat push this time around, but there we go. 9 Mutas coming up. 9 Mutas! Or as Serral calls them, Mutas. Mutas and Ultras. Interestingly enough, that's what every European pro gamer calls them these days. I actually think that's kind of cute. Serral calls them Mutas and Ultras. So now everybody does. Let's see. Hellbat's coming in. Trying to see if they can snipe this expansion potentially up north. But I think we probably need to keep our eyes set on the Mutas here instead. Medevac drops are just about to end, though. Yeah. If Zerg can overwhelm this... Ooh, he gets a bunch of the... Okay. Serral wants to get the cake and then eat it, too. Gets very little so far with the Mutas, but... I think ultimately this Medevac is also likely to get sniped. So that was 3 Mutas for a bit of value. Obviously now the surprise has also been revealed. 12 drones, though, do go down. Yeah, that must have been the Hellions over on the left side. And obviously, they also managed to force the Council on that hatch. Maybe it was even a kill. I don't know, dude. Mutas have a lot of potential. It's one of those units where, like, if it's left unchecked, it's extremely powerful. Like, ladder heroes can well, tell every Zerg player under the sun that Mutas are amazing. Because if left unchecked and you don't defend against them perfectly, they deal so much damage over time. It's just that when they sort of get countered like this, I always find that the Mutas just do very little. Like, what exactly has Serral achieved with this? It's expensive. You kind of, like, strategically play yourself into a corner, too, because there's not going to be a hive anytime soon. We don't really see an easy transition away from Mutas. So he did go for the +1+, yeah, the +1 flyer upgrade, and he's making more of them now. Usually when momentum shifts in favor of Terran, when Mutas are out, it just looks better and better and better for the Terran player over time. Except when Dark plays it. Sometimes Dark manages to get back, and he just makes more Mutas, and then even more Mutas, and that seems to be what Serral is doing. Honestly, if you would have covered up the usernames right now, I probably would have assumed this was Dark playing, because this is just Mutas into more Mutas. Very scary Terran attack, though, coming through the center of the map. In the meantime, a full run-by. Serral hoping that maybe suddenly the Terran player has a town portal scroll. Or maybe like a mass recall approach, that he's recalling this entire army. But no, Clem decides to double down with the aggression as well on the other side of the map. And that is going to be a hatchery that falls within seconds. In the meantime, though, reinforcing Marines are popping out. SCV's trying to make this awkward. I love the Thor. The Javelin missiles deal so much damage. Widowmine from the low ground, too, putting in some splash. Still, though, the Mutas do survive for now. +2 infantry attacks does get denied. Banelings now defensively used as well by Serral. Widowmine on creep, but this fight taking place on creep should certainly benefit the Zerg. 35 SCVs have already gone down. And even though Clem did get rid of one hatchery here in just a few seconds, everything else has been denied. Yeah, so don't actually fight the main army. That's how you play Mutas. Don't even consider fighting the main army. Just counterattack. He's making more Mutas. Okay. Well, now suddenly Clem is up with his back against the wall. That seemed like a crazy counterattack, though, to me. I really thought that was going to look a little bit better for Terran. But apparently, yeah, Clem not quite aggressive enough, right? The problem is if you give the Zerg player a lot of time there to make Zerglings and then morph those Zerglings into Banelings, then suddenly attacking with the Marines onto creep is really hard. I think if he would have gone straight from that 4th base of the Zerg, straight towards the natural, he could have done a lot more damage. Now suddenly, though, he goes home, but what exactly do you have to come home to? You know, like he comes home here and... Ooh, those Widow Mines are lovely. Really cool positioning. Not a lot of dead space, apparently, here on Starchild. Yeah, he comes home, but he finds out that his home has been, well, going up in flames. A couple of burrowed banelings here, too, just to rub a bit of salt in the wound. Okay, Serral's a merciful god. Maybe he just wants more. Well, this is a good fight, though, by Clem. Making the best out of the situation. Clem, of course, phenomenal micro, so he's going to try and see if he can counterattack. Any fight, though, against speedy banelings on creep, I mean, it's just not going to go well. Even if your micro is phenomenal, pro gamers, at least the majority of them, are still human. And humans can only micro so many units at the same time. Still, though, he's inviting Zerg into this little corridor off creep. Serral decides to take the invitation. Backs up after sniping some of the splash damage. Clem, by the way, doubling down on just unit production. So he's made an SCV or two, but that's about it. Still just in the 30s as far as his SCV count goes. Whoa, okay. Widowmine's getting in a good bit of value. Terran army is looking massive because of all of this. In the meantime, there is also a secondary army down south. And that one is once more going to kill that hatchery. Serral, though, did clean up the majority there of the Terran's army. And I think this is all sort of fizzling out right now for Clem. Like, yeah, he's getting some value, and yeah, he's dealing some damage, but he doesn't really have the backbone here to sustain this. Every minute that goes by, look at that. The income advantage for Zerg is massive. So even though these traits have been really nice and effective for Clem, he's just lost too many SCVs to the counterattack. Oh, he sees them! God, did you see them? I mean, I don't want to flex or anything, but I saw the burrowed banelings there. But I really assumed, I already had a smile on my face, that Clem was gonna walk straight into them. Must have noticed the little divot, or maybe he saw them burrow. Either way, nice attempt there by Serral. Can't believe Clem spotted that. That's crazy. Even just forcing a Scando right now for Serral to snipe 2 banelings is well worth it for him. Yeah, Serral's cruising now. Clem is a bit angry, going all the way up to almost 500 average actions per minute. Absolute madman. But angry or not, I just don't think he's got the numbers to sustain this. GG gets called, and Serral obtains another victory. Next up, we find ourselves on Arrowholm. Scoreboard looking pretty good here for Serral. Serral has such a wide range of strategies that he likes to go for, right? Like, historically, I think you could criticize Serral for playing a little bit too much of the same strategy over and over and over again. And at the time, he could get away with it just because he did it better than anybody else. But these days, in 2025, you can't really get away with that. You sort of need to, at the very least occasionally, mix it up. And so far, Serral has been mixing it up in every single game. So what exactly do you expect right now if you're Clem? Well, I think if you're Serral, you assume that Clem is going to be playing triple command center Hellion Banshee. Right? That'll very likely be what we see here. Because he already has deduced that it's not going to be a double Rex start. Maybe there could be a Hellbat push mixed in. But even though Terran can make every unit from the Marine to the Battlecruiser by 5 minutes, Clem certainly has his favorites. Maybe we'll see like a Liberator instead of a Banshee. But that doesn't really force the Zerg player to widely adjust anything. We could see Terran Mech, for example, in the mid-game. We see that occasionally from, for example, the Gumihos of this world. But, unlikely. I don't really see Clem playing that style at all. What about the approach that Spirit likes to take in this particular matchup? Spirit is extremely good. A very passive, very turtly approach with Terran Bio. Then eventually into Mass Command Center, and then, well, you end up playing 45-minute games, and, oh, there we go again. So, Clem has one trick, and he's gonna do the trick again. It's the Armory. We're gonna go into some quick heck bets. Now, a good magician never shows his trick twice, right? It doesn't make any sense. Clemdo is hoping here that Serral is gonna sleep on the job, and admittedly, at the time, in that particular game, Serral did go for the Roach Warren defense. And that was also the game that Clem ended up winning in the end, so I don't know if it was really based on the Hellbats though, but let's see. So we're going Hellbats together with Liberator. Serral sending in a Scouting Overlord. He doesn't see much, but he does see that the Starport is producing without an add-on on it. So that means it's either going to be a Lonely Medivac. Oh, this could be good. He drops it. No Marauders in the mix or whatever. Queens run away, but already taking a lot of damage. One of the Queens is gonna die. Okay, let's see. This is obviously much quicker, though, than the previous game that we saw Hellbats. So all of this is very fast. No Roach Warren, no nothing. It's just going to be Queens running around awkwardly. Drones running away as well from their mineral line. They do get cornered. Reinforcing Hellions show up. A little overly ambitious. Serral immediately snipes them down. Only 2 drones have fallen so far, but the positioning here for Clem is phenomenal. And you know what? This is exactly what you want this Terran. This is perfect. Perfect attack. Yep. Way too much damage dealt here by Terran. Pretty much unrecoverable. The drones are even going to pay the price right now, too. Serral did overwork her, obviously. He did make a few too many. Maybe he can hold on eventually, but this has slowed down any follow-up from the Zerg tremendously. A couple more Hellions show up. They also turn into Hellbats. Where's that Liberator? Oh, it's over here. It's denied the entirety of the main base. Yeah, so Serral is dead. I mean, not really, but, you know, for the most part, I don't really see any potential follow-up. Sorry, Brenda, you're gonna get shot at. Hellions are like, come on. Look what I got for you. Come on. Bzz, bzz, bzz. Come on, little drones. Relentless aggression here by Clem. Normally, you don't make this many Hellions, but in this type of situation, you gotta strike while the iron is hot. GG. Next up, we find ourselves on the map El Dorado. This is, of course, the map with those very enticing golden minerals near the bottom of the area. And then, of course, also this base at the 6 o'clock that both players are extremely fond of. But I feel like the tone has been set now. Clem not backing away from an aggressive encounter, right? Maybe, yeah, you feel like you can't really play that sort of style against Serral very effectively, but it turns out he is vulnerable to it. It is practically impossible for the Zerg player to scout everything that Terran does, and if you mix that sort of strategy in too frequently, it's not likely to work. But every once in a while, it can work like a charm. SCV now blocking the third base. I love this. Great positioning here by Clem. Oh, body blocking. Okay, he does get the extractor going, but all of this is already suboptimal. Serral never mined out those golden minerals at the bottom, so he really only has one third base option, and it's this one right over here. He now decides to spend his money on a Roach Warren and another big round of drones. But this was not intended as a 2-base opener for Serral here. He did not mean to go into a 2-base start. Eventually he gets the third hatchery going, but not in the easiest way possible. In the meantime, of course, we've got ourselves a triple CC build once more here. Clem now following this up a little differently than what he's done before. So this is not a straight 1-1-1. It's also not a straight 2 Rex. This is a 1-2-1. We end up with a double barracks here and then eventually a starport 2. But for now, the marine production will begin. This means that he's going to have less Hellions, if any Hellions at all. Okay, he made 2 in this particular instance. Mostly just to make it look to the Zerg player like this is going to be a standard opener. But then suddenly he's going to hit with a much quicker Stimpack than you would ordinarily have in a game of StarCraft. So this is still very quick stim, despite the fact that it looks like a 1-1-1, despite the fact that he does have a third command center. Across the board, though, this does mean that you have less Hellions, and therefore creep spread is a lot more dangerous. What in the world are we doing? Oh my god, Serral. Serral has brought drones to the other side of the map, and he's trying to create an opening here. Oh god, this is a crazy attack. So that forced Roach Warren, he's trying to get some value. I have not seen anybody do this since this map got introduced. Serral's like, yo, don't worry about it. I will use my drones as a weapon. Well, run away, little Marines. Stimpack is coming, but only at about a half minute from now. Until then, these roaches are your worst nightmare. Still though, SCV's here to tank some of the damage. Hellions have come back home too. Great attack though by Serral. I mean, lovely defense too by Clem, but clearly he did not expect that this was going to be a push. 13 drones. Well, Terran drones, that is. That is a lot. That was a cool attack. Serral once more, showing us that he is not a one-trick pony. I think once upon a time you could maybe make the argument that he sort of was. Just a very well-refined one trick, you know? These days, we have many tricks. Not trying to body block here. These Hellions, getting some good value. 5 drones actually for 2 Hellions is by far the best you're ever gonna get. Combat shields on the back of this. Medevac's now ready to go for an attack. Of course, the Marines have Stimpack. They would have liked to have it a bit earlier. But Serral now finding himself with near 3-base saturation versus Clem, well, who's only barely saturating his natural. Double engineering bay. Double evo chamber as well coming up. Roach Warren researching Roach speed. We'll have to see if this is going to be missile or melee. We haven't actually seen a single lurker yet. It's a bit funny. This marine drop though is nice, but okay, at least he got some targeting done onto those roaches that morphed themselves into Ravagers. Serral gets the majority of those resources back. Okay. 4th hatchery in the far top right will be Serral's weapon of choice. And he is indeed going missile. Missile and infestation pit, so probably straight into a hive? Maybe with Vipers for support? I'm not exactly sure where he's going to be taking this game from here. No Hydra then means no lurkers. So Vipers would make a lot of sense, but you can't really build a unit composition as Zerg on the back of just roaches. So maybe he will transition into Ling Bane, but if that's the case, it's going to be very late upgrades for those. No, it's going to be a Hydra Den. Okay, Hydra Den coming up right now together with a Hive. And then I'm guessing a Lurker Den as soon as the Hydra Den is done. But all of this is a little out of sync. In the meantime, Clem is thinking, yo, Zerg is not likely to be in sync here because it doesn't make any sense. Normally, I wouldn't be taking the golden minerals at this point in time, but you know what? I've been falling behind economically after that many losses. Let me take the intended path on this map. We see this base mined usually from the bottom. Clem, though, going for the quick golden minerals there and getting a lot of value. And honestly, if he goes for a siege tank push over here, there's a lot of really nice positions. There's the lurker then indeed. 1-1 about to finish. Armory at the correct time. Ah, okay. I saw the medevac loading up a few siege tanks. I figured he was going to use them aggressively, but he was just repositioning them, trying to put them close to the third. Second factory right now coming up as well for the Terran player. Clem needs to go into some sort of ghost production in a game like this. In game number 1, he refused going ghosts. I don't think you can fight lurkers without them. I mean, there are ways of countering it, but in this instance, I think it is by far the easiest way to do it. The Terran players have been shying away from the ghost. I don't know if it's actually because they think the unit is bad, or if they're throwing like the StarCraft equivalent of a tantrum. I've seen that many times before, where a unit gets nerfed and everybody's like, well, if it gets nerfed, I'm never gonna make it ever again. We've seen that many times historically, and then at some point somebody mixes it back in and we find out actually it was pretty powerful all along. I feel like maybe the ghost is getting that treatment right now, but against lurkers, you do need something. You can't just play siege tanks and marines. I think anyways. We'll see. Maybe Clem believes you can. Serral has a lot of Roach Ravager here. Do we have Vipers? No, no Vipers. Okay, he's been spending his gas on lurkers. Oh god, he's trying to counter lurkers with marines. Somebody get Björn away from the keyboard. He's YOLO medevac dropping and he's pushing into marines with... Oh, no, lurkers rather into marines. Wait, what? Marines into lurkers. Anyways. I find this dangerous. Serral is a bit inflated as far as the supply count goes because of the roaches. But I don't think that this expansion is going to die. And I don't believe that these drops are going to achieve anything. There's barracks 6, 7, and 8. 4th command center is almost finished. We should really see... Oh... Ouch! Ouch! Yeah, we should really see a 4th CC and then into a Ghost Academy ASAP. You can't fight this. You can't. Like, it only works... I think there's like this weird dream where you believe that, like, maybe it's not even real. Maybe it didn't even happen. But you believe that you can counter lurkers with marines. And it's happened once upon a time, right? And now you're making all your decisions... Oh, God. Dude... Lovely Zergling spotter unit here. Clem is going full YOLO. He's really taking a page out of Björn's book. Like, unironically, this is something Björn does. This Zergling over here, worth its weight in gold. Sees that army coming in. It's not going to happen. Serral's lurker numbers are not really that big, but it's going to grow over the next few minutes. Ghost Academy coming up. Nidus Worm also building here for Serral. So we are popping off with late game aggression. New hatchery in the middle. The entire bottom section of the map, by the way, has not really been accessed yet, which is kind of interesting. Most of the time, those are some of the first expansions we see on this map. No, God. All right. Most of the time, those are some of the first expansions we see. One ghost. It's building. Little attempted medevac drop. Clem is still, by the way, in a very playable position. It's just that he doesn't really have that momentum. He used to be pretty much unbeatable with that momentum-based playstyle, but then as soon as he got thrown off, Clem would look surprisingly human. I think these days he's very strong as well when it comes to playing that much more passive late game. And he is forced into it now. Mostly by his own hand. Yeah, he has to fight this Zerg player toe-to-toe. There's really no way that you can just parade push your way to the victory now, so we have to slow this game down. That's exactly what Serral wants. Baneling Nest coming up. Very late Baneling Nest. But we're making a transition towards what will probably be Hydra Lurker and then a bunch of like Ling Bane mixed in. This is Serral not really aiming to obtain the victory for another little while. There's the ghosts. Still powerful, of course. One supply heavier or not, they're still good. And now suddenly this attack that was previously halted with marines. Hey, okay. Well, you know what? Maybe he can sustain that momentum once more. We'll have to see. Serral, of course, was already rebuilding hatcheries, though, so those drones will have new mineral lines to mine from. Gold base will now also be next. Clem is going to be taking the central expansion here, too. Mirrored, of course, from the Zerg location. Nidus Worm in the far top left. Fusion core coming up here for Clem. Terran army at this point, by the way, is better than that of the Zerg, mostly just because of all of this. So this is that weird part of the ZVT matchup where Zerg doesn't really want roaches anymore, but they also don't want to give it away. So they're trying to give value, but... Man, those Marines are brave. Sir, there's spines coming out of the floor. Do we care about it? Shut up, Jimmy. Shut up and shoot your missiles. Well, I don't know if you can shoot missiles out of a gun. Anyways. +3 armor together with +1 melee, researching at the same time. A very cursed combination. Nidus Worm going up inside of the main base. A little bit of value here coming out of Widow Mines too, but one of them gets biled down. Lunge research here for the Hydralisks too. So Serral was making the most convoluted approach here to getting to Lingbane Hydra. Like, he went to Roaches first, and then into Lurkers, and then ultimately we go back to Ling and Bane. Even though he would have already been there. Now, this is him trading out that very bulky army for something that's a bit more supply efficient, but my god, was that expensive. And he now also finds the rest of the units cornered, and those are the troops he doesn't want to lose. Bunch of ghosts do die to the Lurker spines, but this is by far the best fight Clem could ever have gotten here. Very good value. Couple Lurkers in the meantime over at the gold base. They run away. Oh, really? We're gonna go full Brood War? Look at the Changeling! Changeling trying to body block. Cute play there by Serral. Fight in the middle, though. Yeah, that was a little gift by Serral. Maybe he is a bit too generous. I don't know what Finnish Christmas is like, but that's what I imagine anyways. Well, maybe giving your little brother roaches is a little mean, but... There was a lot of roaches going down there. I think that has mostly evened the odds a little in this game. Difficult, of course, for me to read. Even more difficult for Clem in this instance. I think he assumed he was a little behind earlier. But now suddenly, these fights are looking really good. And I'm not really too... Yeah, I'm not too impressed with the way that Serral is microing those Lurkers of his. He's got a lot of them, and he's trying to be aggressive. That Nidus Worm has been effective, I guess, at quickly maneuvering these units around. But I think he was hoping... And against most Terran players, he's probably right, but I think he was hoping that that would pin the Terran player inside of their base. So he's been using the Lurkers for counterattacks. And Clem is saying, perfect, I will defend and then be aggressive at the exact same time. Which is extremely difficult to do, especially against units like Lurkers. But it's been very effective. Now you can see it reflected in the supply count, though. Those traits are really hurting the Zerg. Clem's army, huge. His SCV count at a perfect 69. Now those Marines, ooh, okay. They were almost in a world of trouble as they were marching through the rainforest over here. Well, they're still going to be super dead. Dang, poor Marines. Okay. So despite the fact that this is a game where it's very difficult to shift momentum, I think Clem has managed to do it. Serral is still being the aggressor, but I don't think he really can be. Now Liberators are coming up too, by the way, which I think is an amazing addition. Normally it's a bit expensive to go both Liberators as well as Ghosts. But this is the type of game where he's got the money for it. Not the cleanest of fights here for Terran, but he cleans up all of the Lurkers regardless. Although at a very high cost. Serral hoping that maybe this distraction down south can be good enough, but he's not really getting that much value here. This golden base was obviously mining as a third. If this would have been the Terran's fourth base, I think these Lurkers would have been a lot more scary, but now the majority of those minerals have been mined out. Good value here as well on these Marines, Marauders, and their Ghosts. A lot of medevacs up in the air too. Oh, Serral just, okay, dashing into this army. Fair enough. Clem did not care at all. Just stood his ground. And I think the Liberators here are phenomenal. Like, this is going to be a proper bio late game. So we go Marine Marauder Medevac into Widow Mines, into Ghosts, and then eventually into, well, a whole lot of Liberators here. So these units are going to hit like a truck. Can we have a look at the army value over time? Yeah. And I feel like this is the scary part for Zerg. He may have had the income advantage this entire time, but he's had to fight for it. And in the meantime, Terran is outgrowing his army regardless. This is that extreme cost efficiency from the Terran players that can micro. Look at his little pagan ritual, by the way, going on over here. Playing the little marine drum. Sacrificial Jimmy over here in the middle of the campfire. So, what can Serral do here to make his army better? Well, generally, you need more money than he's got right now. Infestors, very obvious choice. Fungal growth can change everything. The same for example, blinding clouds and abductions. But he needs spellcasters, and at this point, he doesn't really have the money for it. So, he's just trying to brute force his way through these armies, trying to make the best out of a very difficult situation. Those Liberators, though, are making it difficult for Zerg to engage, and GG gets called. Clem evens up the score. And that takes us to ley lines. Map number 7. Map number 7 in a best-of-9. So, of course, it's the first player to win 5 maps that obtains the victory of the PiG Sty Festival. So, let's see. So far, these two seem to be extremely evenly matched. And dare I say it, in the late game, I think Clem actually has the upper hand. I feel like Serral historically has been impossible to beat in the late game, but honestly, that previous game did not really fill me with confidence. I think most of the time when Serral plays Lurkers, and he does it in combination with a Nidus Worm, and he goes for that full aggression, Terrans just don't attack him. So he had basically no units at home to really defend, and, well, Clem multitasks his way out of that perfectly. Plus, he went for ghosts, right? Rather than what we did in game number 1, where we tried to counter Ultras with Marines, he decided to actually play a proper late-game army, and it worked. Third command center, inside of the main base. Starport, coming up right now as well. No quick stimpack this time around. No quick armory this time around either. I'm assuming this will just be good old triple CC Hellion Banshee here from Clem. I don't even really know exactly what Serral would consider to be his standard right now in this matchup. He's been playing a wide variety. So one thing we haven't actually seen from Serral yet is just straight Ling Bane into straight Hydra, which is what the majority of the Zerg players do. Yeah, there's a lot of Roach Warren shenanigans, and we do see some variety as well in the mid-game, but we haven't seen what I consider to be like a normal game from Serral in any of these matches yet. I mean, he's gotten there eventually, but the way he gets to a normal army composition has been a little convoluted. But let's see. Oh, we did not go for the Banshees. Instead, we left that tech lab onto the barracks rather than switching it over with the starport. Okay, Hellions drive into the natural expansion. Zerglings, in the meantime, also run into the natural expansion. This, though, should be an exchange that's better for the Terran, although I say that. Both players take a tremendous amount of losses. Huh. How did Serral just come out of that ahead? Last time I checked the Terran side of the map, the Hellion had all of the Zerglings on its tail, and there were like 2 dead SCVs. Now we find ourselves with all of the Hellions dying on the other side of the map. I mean, I guess most of the Lynx did too, but that was actually really nice for Serral. Okay. 1-1. We should see some NG base as well on the other side of the map. We should see at least one. Alright. Important for the Terran not to forget about it. We'll probably see it in just a moment. Creep is going to be laid down again, and this is the real problem with losing Hellions, right? Like, losing Zerglings, okay, it sucks. But losing Hellions also automatically means that Zerg is going to start creeping up their side of the map really hard. So the fact that Clem still has 4 available, dude, this is big. Yeah. Any damage here that Terran can do to those creep tumors is nice. Because if you don't do any damage, by the time that you're ready to go for a marine attack, I mean, I want to say at least like a third of the map is going to be fully creeped up. It's one of the problems when you play against a high APM Zerg. Serral actually playing at a low amount of APM right now for his sake. Only 386. Is he even still here? Maybe he's AFK. Can anybody go check? Liberator denying mining for a little bit. Baneling Nest, together with a lair. What? Okay. So I'm assuming we're gonna be seeing Baneling speed into, yeah, good old Hydras. Maybe this could even be an Ultralisk rush. Double engineering bay in the back of the natural. Okay. All of this is looking pretty nice. Ultimately, the losses here in the early game, they do slightly favor Serral. Other than that, everything is looking pretty normal. Where do we go now that we are at a lair tech? So Baneling Nest starts up immediately. Do we see a quick Hydra then? Yes. So no quick Ultras. This will likely be a transition into 2-2 research for the Lings and the Banes. And then into a Lurker Den together with a Hive. Could also be a Lurker Den together with a Hive before that. We'll have to keep an eye out on that production tab. In the meantime, Clem going into his conventional follow-up. Barracks number 4 and 5 right now are building. We'll see an armory when 1-1 is about to finish up. Could see a second factory, a 4th command center. All of that in due time. I don't think this is the type of game where he can transition towards an 8 Rex all-in, although I've been surprised before, but not generally from Clem. Clem doesn't really like that. Maybe if this was Hero Marine playing, sure. Maybe we could see it, but... Anyways, he's got some time still until Baneling speed is done. Only a little bit, but he gets another creep tumor because of it. There's indeed 2-2. Hydra then also starts up the arranged research. And no Hive, potential yet, so no infestation pit. That could mean that Serral is aiming for a very long mid-game. So pure Hydraling Bane. No follow-up with any sort of shenanigans. No Lurkers, no Hive. I think you still want to go Hive though, even with that style, just for the upgrades. Especially Adrenal Glands is just so big. But usually if you want to line up 3-3, you start up an Infestation Pit as you start up 2-2. So when 2-2 finishes, you can start up straight 3-3, assuming you went for a Hive as soon as the Infestation Pit did. Anyways, since there is no Infestation Pit started with 2-2, it seems to me that Serral is going to stick around on Lair Tech for the foreseeable future. Either that or he made a mistake. Doubtful. No, don't think so. Ooh, with a mine. Ooh, close. So far, the Terran drops have been nullified. Overlord speed starts up before an Infestation Pit. Okay. A lot of drones. The problem is, with this delay of Hive Tech, you do lose a bit of momentum as far as the game state goes. So obviously he knows he's ahead as far as upgrades go, because Terran wasn't particularly quick on those. But, I mean, Zork is going to be halted at 2-2. When Clem finishes 2-2, he can go straight into 3-3. So in a couple minutes from now, I think I like this position for Clem a little bit better. But that's exactly what Serral is likely trying to avoid. Clem doesn't know about the lack of Hive Tech at this point, so in his mind, this could be a quick transition straight towards, for example, Lurkers. There's the Infestation Pit, though. Feels a little bit out of whack. I think Serral is going to hit the opponent in the face as soon as 2-2 finishes up. That'll likely be the timing he's aiming for. Needs to get rid of this Terran army on his front door first, though. 2-2, now only 10 seconds away. A little awkward to be engaging this right before those additional upgrades kick in. But this is only half of the Zerg army. Still though, lovely micro here by Clem. I don't know if he's clicked any of those units in a little bit. There's about a minute until Terran finishes up their own research. Maybe Serral's really respecting this. I wonder if this is just him playing it super defensively. So there's the Hive starting up. I find this Hive timing very odd. Yeah, he's actually just doing it full defensively. Does apparently not care so much about hitting a timing attack here or progressing of tech or his tech here, but ultimately that means that Clem is going to be able to do whatever he likes. And Clem just, well, finished up barracks 6, 7, and 8. They're growing little tech labs on themselves right now. 4th Command Center already has built a planetary fortress on top of itself. We've got a 5th Command Center also building. All of this is looking really, really nice right now for Clem. Ghost Academy. Look, he's expecting lurkers. Like, he's probably thinking that Ghost Academy is late. Ooh. Crazy fight. Deep onto creep here. There's still a bunch of banglings, though, left over. Not a lot of anti-air, not enough room in the planes either for everybody to stay around, but Clem now reveals this base by building a sensor tower. I think Serral probably already knew. Command centers are starting to build. Vipers indeed coming up. Okay. Vipers and I guess +3. Adrenal glands, also an important research. A lot of minerals available right now for Serral, but not nearly as much gas. So this is just defensive Ling Bane. Like, this is like punching bag Zerg. Terran gets to do whatever they like. Maybe there will be some sort of counterattack with Ling Bane at some point, but for now, Serral's just chilling on creep. And I'm not convinced that this is the best playstyle for Zerg. Super late Lurker Den. Incredibly late Lurker Den. If you're making Lurkers into a Terran who already has Liberators and Ghosts ready to go, I've got a feeling you're gonna get countered really hard. Maybe if you can suddenly whip out a dozen Lurkers fully upgraded, maybe, but he doesn't have the gas for that at this point in time. Strategically, this makes a lot more sense from Clem, who is building up a lot of CCs. He's now going into that command center into Planetary on the low ground too. We'll probably see this base here taken in a moment. Clem is cruising. He still needs to be careful though, because Zerg... Ooh, there's a big detonation over there. Zerg has a lot of money, and they can suddenly whip out an awful lot of Ling Bane Hydra. Sensor tower positioning though has been excellent. Medevac now also spots this gigantic Zerg army. Not a lot of reinforcing Terran units available for it yet, but I'm trying to see if he can get a bit of value. Serral respects it, decides to back off. The command center count is slowly growing. Lurker Den, upgrading the arranged for the lurkers. Nidus network also coming up. Okay, suddenly though, yeah, Serral decides to go for a push. Terran doesn't yet have 3-3, upgrades are even. He's trying to see if he can deny his base, but it seems very costly in my mind. Can Serral still salvage this? I guess so. That was expensive, but Terran also lost an awful lot of troops during all of it. One cheeky little baneling left behind as a present. Oh no. Clem! Alright, he scanned and he shot at the banelings right at his feet. Suboptimal. Serral, by the way, has to manually detonate it. So, yeah, he did not quite pay attention to it. This attack right now from a Terran could put in some work, though. Well, he decides not to double down. A little afraid of the potential. He doesn't have enough medevacs to really save everybody. He wanted to try and save everyone, but that did not happen. Suddenly, Clem's supply count is looking like it is down the gutter. Orbital command on the low ground after a planetary just got killed. 4 mules as well that just began mining. All of this is starting to look a little bit shaky. Now suddenly Clem is sitting here with all these command centers of his, not really getting a lot of value. So ultimately we have lurker tech, but we don't build lurkers? What a strange game from Serral. Now we can whip out 13 lurkers. Does he even need it? I feel like this is one of those games where Clem is thinking, okay, he is gonna attack me now. Okay, well, he didn't attack me then. He's got to be attacking me now in that case. And he played this little game with himself like 7 times, and then Serral never attacked until he did. And he did it right when Clem wasn't expecting it. GG. Match point right now for Serral. We find ourselves on the map Frostline. That game really could have gone very differently, though. So Serral stuck around on Lair Tech for a long time, just building up his economy. And then he eventually teched up towards a Hive, but then he did an attack without really using any of the Hive tools. I mean, he did have some upgrades, I guess, and he did have a Viper or two, but the Lurkers never came into effect. Very strange. Ultimately, though, Serral just defended better. Clem took a lot of losses. And maybe that wasn't really the plan for Serral, right? To attack with Hydroling Bane that late into the game. But he looked at it, he's like, yo, I think this guy's pretty vulnerable right now. He just lost a huge chunk of his army. I'm gonna go and attack. Well, turns out to be the perfect moment. Keep in mind, of course, that in a best-of-9 series, both of these players are also going to be very focused for a very long duration. It is quite difficult to keep your head in a game for like 2+ hours. Mentally, at the very least, it's very draining to be playing a game of StarCraft like this. I'm still waiting for somebody to do the research to figure out how many calories pro gamers burn during a tournament day. I know it's been done for chess. Apparently chess players burn an awful lot of calories just sitting there moving a piece every once in a while because the brain apparently uses a lot of it. There's gotta be a ton. It's gotta be a ton. You gotta keep yourself fueled. It's quite common, by the way, for a long series like this for pro gamers to be allowed multiple breaks. So you can request breaks. I mean, as far as I know, it's not usually that strict, but there should certainly be some breaks baked into the tournament rules. Very frequently, though, I've seen a lot of tournaments over the years. Pro gamers don't want to take breaks. They want to go from one map into the next, into the next, into the next. No replay review. And if they had any choice in the matter, they would not be taking any ads either. Usually in between games, ads get played. And they will just keep going. Usually they're sitting in the lobby, waiting for the next game to begin. This so far has been a very conventional game once more. So, quick command centers. Quick 1-1-1. Extra barracks coming up. Ooh. We do build a 4th barracks. It's a little bit awkward. Okay. We'll have to see what Clem decides to do with this. A 4th barracks at this point in time is a little strange. Could be a mistake. Could also be something fishy. Let's see. A lot of the top tier pro gamers, by the way, don't really live the, you know, energy drinks and coffee lifestyle that much. They will actually be aiming for, like, proper nutrition, proper exercise, proper, like, sleep schedules and all that sort of thing. How boring, how lame. Focusing on the proven, you know, athletic side of things where they actually try their... Oh, my God. Anyways, Banshee's coming in right now together with a whole lot of Hellions. Good movement here, though, by Serral, although the Queens are running low in HP. They will live for now. And they get some nice transfusions from the rest of the gang. One coming up. Baneling speed coming up. Hydra Den also building. So, Serral once more going Hydraling Bane. Clem focusing on Marines and Siege Tanks for now. Nothing out of the ordinary there. So he is up to 5 barracks, by the way, now. All of that is the key. And a norm. One little changeling wearing pants. Bit strange. Baneling speed is going to be an absolutely critical research here for Serral. Finishing up that upgrade is going to make base defense 10 times easier. Trying to lay down as many of those creep tumors as possible. Clem building up the 2nd factory. Going into the armory. 4th command center. So Clem setting himself up for a macro game once more. This is a very conventional game so far. I'm curious to see whether or not Serral will go for this weird follow-up again. Like, is he just looking for an opportunity to strike? Or is he actually building up to a timing attack? Normally, Zerg is played with big macro or big timing attacks. That's usually how things go. But in the previous game, Serral really didn't do either. I mean, obviously, he did get a lot of economy going. But the moments in which he attacked seemed a bit odd to me. But obviously he saw an opportunity and he just decided to take it. Maybe Serral's playing a strategy game. Picture that. Alright. We're gonna go into the good old Widowmine. The Terran Banelings. We're gonna go into the Widowmine upgrades. It seems to me like he's playing a strategy game, but then in like a real-time format. So he gets to like play the game. It's crazy. Anyways. Hellions still roasting creep tumors. My god. Absolutely relentless with it. It's a necessity though, because if Clem would not be sniping those tumors, the creep would be everywhere at this point in time. Infestation Pit. So this is a much more conventional timing on the Infestation Pit. So generally when you begin the second wave of upgrades, that's when you go into the Infestation Pit. That way you can go into a hive and then go straight into the next wave of upgrades too. Now this is, by the way, melee upgrades now into missile. So a little strange there. Not exactly sure why we're going missile. Maybe he wants to go straight into a lot of lurkers. Lurkers, of course, together with the Hydras, benefit from the missile rather than the melee. Maybe he wants to go swarm hosts. No, he doesn't want to go swarm hosts. No chance. Zergling's trying to catch the Hellions off guard, but good movement here by Clem. Clem playing a very stellar game so far. Now getting a good bit of damage done as well on the hatchery. Chipping away at it. Siege tanks in the back. No blinding clouds available or anything yet, so Serral has to collapse on top of this. He's coming in from every single side right now. Is there enough Zerg to defend this? Absolutely there is. He needed to bring every single unit from the entire map in this direction. A little bit of all army hotkeying? Yeah, there's a time and place for everything. Okay. Hive coming up. Extra Command Center. This is Command Center number 5 building right now. And there's the Ghost Academy. Okay, we're no longer shying away from ghosts. I know ghosts are scary. I mean, I've heard that they live under your bed, right? Terrifying creatures. Okay. Clem moving all over the map. Dude, the fact that we still have those Hellbats around is kind of amazing. We've had a lot of conventional matches so far, but this is by far the most normal, right? Like compared to the previous one, the previous ones all had a bit of a twist. This one feels like two players that are at the absolute top of their abilities right now, playing a straight macro game against one another. Couple Infestors building. Okay. +2/+2 coming up as well. So Serral ends up with all 3 upgrades here eventually. Do we have a Lurker Den? No Lurker Den. So I'm guessing Hive together with +3 melee or +3 armor? No, +3 armor. It has to be armor. He did build a 3rd Evo. Triple Evo chamber builds are very uncommon. Kinda love it though. Still, Clem is getting phenomenal value here. The micro here from Clem has been extremely good. Oh, we have barracks 9, 10, and 11. Clem is going 11 Rex. Generally, Terrans stop making barracks at 8. He's going up to 11, which means that he's going to be able to remax way quicker. He's settling in for a proper long game. Ooh. Okay. Very ambitious little drone. Infestor still tunneled on the ground there. Okay, Baneling's just barely killed. I don't know if he was paying attention to that particular fight, but he got the exchange that he was looking for here. Paying attention or not. Clem's multitasking here is looking really solid. Let's do a little bit of first-person view again. So this is what Clem is looking at whilst playing the match. Shift queuing, targeting down each individual Baneling. Backing up with those units. Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, sure. Yeah, oh yeah, sure. Just check every base, guys. Just check every command center you have in under a second. Just check everything. Should we do a little bit of Serral first person view? Looking at the same fight. Forced to keep his units obviously split up. Games get a little bit frantic when Zerg players start scrolling like this. Generally, you want to keep your scrolling to a minimum. Infestor still waiting off to the side here, hoping for a lucky fungal. Is he gonna reveal it now? No, it feels like he can get away without using the fungal growth. Okay, let me take control of the camera again before anybody starts throwing up. Serral, by the way, uses middle mouse to scroll with the screen. Rather than touching the edges with his mouse, he uses middle mouse click and then scrolls his mouse. It's crazy, dude. I'm an edger myself. That's what we call ourselves. Are you an edger too? Leave it down below. But excellent. Oh, okay, excellent. I think, yeah. I really think I'm starting to get the hang of this YouTube thing. Anyways. No, Serral apparently clicks his middle mouse and then he scrolls around. Which is crazy. Serral probably also not an... Oh, here we go. Fungal. Big fungal growth. Double fungal growth even. Take that. It doesn't stack. It doesn't chain. But you can still keep those units rooted for just a little bit longer. And that may have just been what Serral needed. Fight up north, though. Not over yet. But there are still a lot of Zerg units in this area. Oh, another fungal coming in. Serral trying to see if he can potentially get lucky. Do we have a scan available? Man, apparently we don't care. I think Clem probably didn't see the fungal. Whoa, dude. Serral playing peekaboo here. That's nuts. Playing Infestor Whack-A-Mole. Very strange game. Hydra's coming in from the north. Clemdo. Send all of the units that he's got towards the center. Keep in mind that some of these units are fake because they're actually changelings. Fungal growth there just to get whatever is left over. Another Infestor down south has enough energy for another fungal. Is there enough Zerg though to really justify this? Dude, the fungal growths have been really nice. I don't know if momentum is shifted though. No, I don't think it's good enough. So yeah, that was Serral's last-ditch effort. So this is something he's been doing a little bit more as of late. He taps out while having a good economy. I guess in a best-of-9 series, maybe it makes sense. But I would like to see the captain go down with the ship, if that makes any sense. Anyways, GG. Well, here we go. It all comes down to Amygdala. Game number 9 in a best-of-9 series between the two highest-ranked players on the planet. They have been going toe-to-toe. I think it's pretty much impossible to really give a favorite to anybody here. And Amygdala is also not really a map for any sort of spiciness. Actually, I've messed up the scoreboard. There we go. It's 4-4. Here I am, dude, with my anti-hype. Professional commentator alert. All right. Game number 9. Score is 4-4. Amygdala is the map. This is a map that only has 2 attack lanes in the early game. So you can only ever send units through the bottom towards the other side of the map. Or, of course, you can do the same thing as well through the north, right? And it's a long while. It takes a while to get your units across the map. Obviously, you can fly and you can open up these rocks, for example, mine out the mineral fields, take care of these. I mean, they bleed out at about 8 minutes of in-game time. There are ways to maneuver around the map a little bit later on, but this map is not really designed for early game aggression. And I think that suits both of these players just fine. Third hatchery, once more, getting the knight, but already Serral did build a hatchery in the vertical position. Ooh, okay, this isn't Warcraft 3, but we did get a surround. Hellion follow-up is going to be nice and all, but they're going to have to scout now. With the Reaper falling, Clem does miss some critical information. Now, luckily for him, there is really no critical information here that is actually relevant. There's no Roach Warren hiding in the main base or a Baneling nest or anything crazy like that. But at this point, Clem is in the dark. He hasn't seen the third. He knows that it's likely there. But whenever you're making decisions based on assumptions, especially early on into a game of StarCraft, you are rolling the dice. This is once more a 2-1-1 opener. So triple CC 2-1-1. Means it's a delayed starport, but a faster second barracks. It also means that Stimpec is going to be significantly quicker. So any sort of roach attack here would be denied. Perfect scout right there, though, by Serral. He now knows, just looking at the timing of all of those structures, that this is indeed a 2-1-1. With a third command center. And that also means that there's not likely to be a lot of Hellions. So normally you would see more than 4 Hellions. In this instance, you can probably expect, well, at most 4. 2 to 4 is kind of the norm here. So he still decides to go roaches. I find that a little interesting. Maybe he's just feeling most comfortable with this build right now. Generally against Marines, you don't really need roaches, but if they are in the right position, you can't really die to anything stupid. So that's the advantage of roaches. Like, as soon as you have them, it's really difficult to lose. I mean, I don't want to flex or anything, but I manage all the time. I can pull it off, but usually roaches are really strong defensively, as long as you put them in the right spot. Single Evo chamber here too, so just for the armor. Serral once more going for a different build order than what we've seen so far in this series. If somehow, some way, this game would end in a draw, the map would get replayed. It is important to point out, that is the norm in every StarCraft tournament. If a map ends in a draw, it gets replayed. Now, ZVT, drawing, very uncommon. There's a few situations where it could be good, but I honestly doubt it. Oh, you're stuck in here with me. Clem inviting the Zerglings in. And then closing the door behind them. Ooh, careful. Don't want to lose a medevac full of Marines right now. Still, though, a little bit of damage has been dealt so far by the Zerg. And the problem is, when you're seeing roaches as a Terran here, it's so hard to deal damage. Obviously, you do need a lot of roaches, right, in order to defend against these groups of Marines, but... Okay, so the real scary attacks that Terrans like to go for on this map are into these choke points. So, this section over here... This is like siege tank galore, right? Like, there's a lot of good spots where you can hide siege tanks and you can just be incredibly obnoxious. We have similar positions up here as well. And I guess maybe that's the reason why Serral is playing roaches on this map in particular. Corrosive Bile really is a phenomenal answer. Alternatively, you can go into a fast hive. But this is not a fast hive type of game. Couple of Zerglings here poking away. Second factory gets scouted. That usually means that a fourth command center is going to be added on as well in the mix momentarily. Oh, Roach is waiting around the site. Look at them being cheeky. Serral actually just going for a full attack here. So this is actually just a +1 armor, Roach speed timing attack. It's a old school approach, but with a very modern twist. Interesting. Yeah, this is actually just a pure Roach Ravager push. And Clem is not prepared for this at all right now. He does have siege tanks. High ground vision is a necessity. Overseer was brought, of course, with this party too. That siege tank goes down. And Serral is going for a similar attack as what we saw him do earlier on as well. That was a very different outcome, though. This seems like it is dealing a tremendous amount of damage. This is just a full Roach push. Huh, so Serral scouts a 2-1-1 and decides to go for a Roach speed timing attack? I mean, this is basically baby's first timing attack, okay? If you start playing Zerg, this is the first type of push that you learn. 26 Roaches, 7 Ravagers down the drain, but 23 SCVs were killed. And obviously right now, Serral has all the control that he would ever need. Terran can't really do anything. Well, he's gonna still try and send a medevac up north. There is something beautiful, though, to going just back to the most basic of basic attack. I can almost guarantee you that this is the first type of strategy that Serral ever learned when he started playing StarCraft. That siege tank is putting in a ton of work, but there's a little hit squad of a Ravager group, and then also that one Overseer providing the high ground vision. I think that medevac going across the map here was a mistake. Having those units now not part of the battle is really, really painful, and Serral being an absolute monster here in the final game of this series. I think this is it. 21 additional SCV falls. I mean, there's only 57 drones, so it's not like Serral's economy here is booming. But I don't see how Clem is ever going to be able to defend this. I mean, obviously with an opener like this, you don't get any Banshees. You don't get any Liberators. You don't get any reliable tools that usually work great against these roach attacks. And even though it's a little bit funky to transition towards these roaches when you're playing against a Marine army guaranteed, Serral is showing us that the strength of the roach is not to be underestimated. Look at the value he's gathered as well so far. I mean, Clem still has mining though. 31 SCVs down, yes. But he's still got mules. The problem is he has no way to secure 3 entire mineral lines. Serral's gonna just keep his foot on the gas and continuously be aggressive. And this siege tank now shelling away at those links is dealing a lot of damage to the SCVs as well. GG, well played gets called. And ultimately, it is Serral who obtains the victory in this tournament grand finals, 5-4. GG.